So on that point, on realtors, if they're 1099, and I can speak to it now instead of later, but on the 1099, we default to a 10% expense factor ratio, regardless. So you give us a 1099 and a year to date, showing that the income's still the same, and that's what we'll use. So if you've got 1099 borrowers, we'll use 1 year or 2 year, and you can use just a 10% expense factor on that 1099, and we allow multiple 1099s.
So basically, there is no need to show tax returns.
Correct.
Only 1099s. That's it.
But this is for bank statement or just?
Two different programs. So you've got your bank statement program, and that's for of course, your self-employed borrowers that put monthly deposits in, or they use the business account or their personal. They transfer money in on a monthly basis in their personal. We add up those deposits, and we don't hit those for 50% if it's in a personal. But
how do the rates compare on the 1099 with the conforming conventional loans or the Fannie Mae?
let's see. The last one I quoted was about 6.7.
Is it for how many years prepayment penalty?
Well, so on owner occupied, you don't have a prepayment penalty. The EPO is 6 months, 180 days from the funding date. Very standard.
Is it bank statement, yeah?
Yeah, on the business purpose loans, which I can talk about in a moment, because I want to stay on. I don't want to jump back and forth on programs too much. If you're doing non-owners, then the prepayment penalties come into play.
Is it mandatory or just depends if client wants?
We look for a minimum of 1 year. It protects you and it protects us, and it saves me from having to have an ugly conversation with management if it pays off before, and it's just not pleasant. And anybody that's buying a property right now, they can keep it for 1 year. We pretty much already went over the 1099 borrowers of the program, because there's so many people that have side jobs these days, Uber drivers, truck drivers, landscapers. They all have a little side gig. So the 1099 program can be mixed with other income as well.
So now, let's say you have W-2, and in addition to this, you have doing some 3 other jobs, whatever, and all of them giving 1099.
As long as it's 2 year
Even
history.
contractors, if they do work and they're getting 1099s from each of their client, then in this case, what happens?
Then you give us the 1099s.
And then you just take off 10% from 1099, and voila, we have income.
But 1099, is it okay for 1 year or should be for 2 years?
We still look for like the basic 2 year history. If they're over a year or a little bit more, a little short of 2 years, we can do an exception. There would be an exception price, but they'll look at the loan as a whole and decide on that layered risk. If everything else looks pretty strong, they would probably grant it.